Welcome to This Explainer. I am so thrilled you're joining us today because, honestly, we're going on a pretty incredible journey. Imagine a time long before modern environmental movements or global climate summits, when humanity's connection to nature wasn't governed by laws, but by legends, right? A time when people genuinely believed that nature wasn't just some resource to be tapped, but a living, breathing entity that demanded absolute respect. Today, we're exploring the captivating world of ancient Turkish mythology to uncover a profound environmental message hidden right within its folklore. We'll be looking at ancient tales that served as humanity's very first ecological guidelines, all through the lens of some incredibly powerful and, quite frankly, terrifying mythical beings.
So really think about this for a second. What actually happens when you anger the spirit of the river? If you lived in ancient times, water wasn't just H2O, it was the absolute lifeblood of your community, and man, it had a temper. In the rich tapestry of Turkish myth, every single lake, every puddle, every rushing river had a soul, a guardian spirit. Anger that spirit, and you weren't just having a bad day, you were facing the wrath of nature itself. We're about to step into a magical, highly unpredictable, and downright dangerous world where the line between survival and total catastrophe was drawn by, well, how politely you treated the local stream.
Section 1. The Stolen Golden Comb, a tale of greed and wrath. Okay, let's dive into this, because there really is no better way to understand this culture than through its most famous story. Picture a lush, ancient valley, clear rivers sparkling under the moonlight. We're getting into a classic campfire-style narrative here about a lone hunter, a mystical being, and a terrible, terrible mistake. Let's break it down into 4 steps. Step 1, it's nighttime. The hunter spots Su Anasi, the water mother. She's a breathtaking, modestly depicted mermaid-like figure with long blue-green hair trailing onto the land and eyes glowing like rubies. She's just sitting on the rocks, singing magical songs, brushing her hair with this magnificent golden comb. Then, step 2. The hunter's greed totally gets the better of him. He creeps through the bushes, waits for her to dip her hair into the water, and snatches that golden comb, literally making a run for it. Which brings us to step 3, the consequence. Look, you do not steal from the water mother. Furious, Su Anasi's wrath is instantaneous. The calm river violently transforms into massive, churning waves. It bursts its banks, creating a catastrophic flood that's about to wipe the hunter's entire village completely off the map. Finally, step 4. In a state of absolute terror, finally realizing he just messed with the delicate balance of nature, the hunter hurls the comb back into the raging river. The second she gets it back, she returns to her song, and the furious waters recede back to a peaceful slumber.
But the story doesn't actually end with the receding waters. During this chaotic flood, another powerful spirit, the great sage of the waters, known as Su Yesi, booms a warning to the hunter. He says, "Mankind, take from nature only what you need. Everything you take disrespectfully brings disaster." Wow. I mean, this right here? This is the moral anchor of the entire myth. It's not just some fantasy story to scare kids at night. It is a profound, incredibly explicit ecological warning. It's telling ancient people, and honestly us today, that extracting more than your fair share from nature disrupts a very delicate balance, and nature, it will strike back.
Section 2. Spirits of the Water, the Protectors of the Deep. Let's move on and see how this builds, because to fully grasp how these myths shaped ancient society, we really need to look at the key players. Now, what's really interesting here is how perfectly these figures capture the dual personality of nature itself. On the left, we have Su Iyesi, the water master. Think of him as the benevolent, grandfatherly side of nature. He often shows up as a wise old man with a white beard, or sometimes just as a calming, bluish light hovering over the water. He's peaceful. As long as you respect the water, he brings abundance and good fortune. But then look at the right side, Su Anasa, the water mother. She is the fierce elemental power of nature. With those ruby eyes and that symbolic golden comb, which actually represents the natural flow and order of the rivers, she is nature's boundary enforcer. If you disrespect the environment, she's the one bringing the floods. Together, it's like a perfect metaphor, right? Endlessly giving if respected, but terrifyingly destructive if abused.
These stories were so deeply ingrained that they formed the foundation of a widespread belief system called the Su Kultu, or the water cult. Now, this wasn't a cult in the modern creepy sense. It was basically a societal framework. It was this deep understanding that water was a living, purifying source of life. And because it was alive, it demanded strict respect and reverence. You couldn't just do whatever you wanted around a river. There were strict rules.
Section 3. The Ancient Water Cult, Taboos and Offerings. Let's look at exactly what it meant to live under these guidelines day to day.
So there were incredibly strict rules to keep the water spirits happy. Never spit in the river or lake, no throwing trash, especially at night, absolutely no shouting near the water. You had to leave gifts like bread or valuables just to ensure safe passage. Oh, and do not throw stones or enter the water at night. Now, if we look at this through a modern lens, it is absolutely brilliant. These ancient spiritual rules basically functioned as early public health and sanitation guidelines. By telling people they'd anger a powerful spirit if they threw trash in the river, the elders effectively ensured the community's drinking water stayed clean. The rule about not entering the water at night, that literally prevents drowning accidents in the dark. The mythology was essentially a highly effective tool for community safety and environmental conservation.
Section 4. The First Eco-Warriors, From Myth to Modern Environmentalism. Which brings us to a really fascinating realization.
So the crucial point here is that when we strip away the magic and the folklore, what we're actually looking at is an ancient blueprint for modern environmentalism. The legend of Sui Iesi acted as this ancient ecological bond. The fear of angering these spirits naturally forced humans to live sustainably. It created a society that inherently respected nature's boundaries, long before we ever had buzzwords like sustainability or carbon footprint. They intuitively understood that their survival depended on the health of their ecosystem, and they used storytelling to enforce that.
And this brilliantly illustrates how unique the Turkish perspective actually was. Across different Turkic cultures, from the Altai Turks calling the spirit Suezi to the Chuvash calling them the water father and mother, the key trait remains exactly the same. They are protectors. They manage the ecology. But when we compare that to Western mythology, like the sirens or traditional mermaids, their primary trait is usually deceptive. They are monsters designed to lure sailors to their doom. The Western myth is often about man conquering or surviving a hostile nature. The Turkish myth, though, is fundamentally about living in harmony with a protective, albeit strict, natural order. It's a completely different worldview.
And the beautiful thing is, this worldview isn't just history. Today, this rich mythology is actively used to promote sustainable ecotourism and preserve cultural heritage at some truly stunning destinations. We're talking the Altai Mountains, the mighty Yenisei River, the historic Tigris and Euphrates, and gorgeous lakes like Salda and Abant. In these places, tour guides are still telling the stories of Suiyesie and Suanasa. Visitors still partake in ancient rituals like making wishes at springs or just treating the water with profound respect. It's recognized as intangible cultural heritage, keeping that eco-conscious spirit of the ancestors very much alive for modern travelers.
Which brings us to the end of our explainer today. I want to leave you with this final thought. The next time you walk past a river, a lake, or even just a small stream, how will you treat the spirit of the water? Because even if you don't believe in the old man with the white beard or the mermaid with ruby eyes, the lesson they taught remains absolutely true. Nature gives abundantly to those who respect it and pushes back fiercely against those who don't. Maybe we could all benefit from carrying just a little bit of the ancient water cult into our modern lives. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I will see you next time.